Building a global team has never felt easier. You find talent in 3 different time zones, agree on a rate, and they start on Monday. From the outside, this kind of frictionless international hiring looks like a brilliant business growth hack. To lock it in, leaders rely on a familiar piece of paper, the independent contractor agreement. It gets signed, filed away, and treated as an impenetrable legal shield that keeps the relationship simple and entirely off the payroll. But labor regulators across the world do not care what title is typed at the top of that page. They look straight past the ink and examine the day-to-day reality of how you actually treat that worker. If the daily operational reality of the job contradicts the paperwork, that legally binding document you signed offers exactly zero protection. This checklist outlines the reality test used by regulators in the US, UK, and EU. They ignore contracts and hunt for behaviors. Do you control exactly how work gets done? Are they exclusive to your company? Do they attend internal team meetings? Imagine you hire a foreign contractor. Over the course of 14 months, they use your company's software licenses. They report directly to your operations manager, and they work 40 hours a week for nobody else. Under local labor laws, the moment those behavioral boxes are ticked, that person ceases to be a contractor. They are instantly reclassified as a full employee, no matter what their initial contract says. This is the exact definition of misclassification. It means a company has accidentally hired an actual employee, while illegally bypassing every statutory obligation, like taxes and benefits, owed to them. Navigating this boundary is incredibly difficult because the target keeps moving. In the US alone, the Department of Labor has shifted federal classification standards 3 times in 5 years, swinging from a strict 6-factor test in 2024 to an entirely new rulemaking process in 2026. This chart tracks the immediate financial fallout when you get it wrong. Even for unintentional misclassification, the Tier 1 penalties are severe. The company becomes instantly liable for years of retroactive back pay, including unpaid Social Security, Medicare, and overtime wages. But if an auditor decides you knew what you were doing, the case escalates to willful misclassification. This triggers a 100% financial penalty, effectively doubling the damages, and introduces the very real threat of criminal charges for executives. State-level enforcers then stack their own separate fines on top. California aggressively pursues civil penalties up to $25,000 per violation, while Colorado now enforces a standalone fine of $50,000 per worker. The financial logic of relying on contractors violently inverts upon discovery. A strategy adopted to save 20% on payroll costs quickly spirals into a business-ending liability. This regulatory crackdown extends far beyond US borders. The EU recently enacted its Platform Work Directive, establishing a harsh presumption of employment across member states, while Germany heavily penalizes what it calls Scheinselbstständigkeit, or false self-employment. In jurisdictions like Brazil, the multi-year retroactive liabilities are even more brutal. A misclassified worker there is legally owed their missed 13th month salaries, vacation premiums, and years of compound social contributions. Corporations with massive compliance departments cannot outmaneuver these laws. FedEx paid $228 million to settle claims with its drivers, and Uber and Lyft jointly surrendered $175 million to the state of Massachusetts. This diagram illustrates the core mechanical terror of misclassification. A single audit doesn't stay contained. It instantly sparks simultaneous, overlapping investigations across the IRS, the state tax authority, local labor boards, and plaintiffs' attorneys eager for a class action. Misclassification exposure is never a singular fine you can quietly pay off. It is an unstoppable, compounding chain reaction of regulatory fire. To rescue a compromised global workforce, companies generally have 2 options. They can spend massive amounts of capital and 4 to 8 months building out legal entities in every active country, or they can utilize an employer of record. As this flowchart shows, an employer of record is a third-party provider that acts as the legal local employer. The EOR handles the compliant contracts, the payroll, and the local taxes, while you retain complete day-to-day direction of the worker. For a company already sitting on massive exposure, the crucial advantage here is speed. An EOR can safely and compliantly convert a vulnerable contractor into a fully protected employee in just 2 to 3 weeks. An employer of record resolves the classification issue by formalizing the worker as a legal employee. the legal question that creates the exposure disappears because the underlying reality of the relationship has changed. There is one critical caveat. The EOR solves the structural legal layer, but if you continue managing that new employee with a disposable, project-based contractor mindset, you can quickly recreate the exact same compliance issues. This decision flowchart highlights the red flags that signal a mandatory conversion. If your worker has been exclusive for over 6 months, is highly integrated into your daily team structure, and resides in a high-enforcement market, action is required. To review country-by-country compliance rules, compare employer of record providers, and access complete red flag checklists, visit employerrecords.com. Scaling a global workforce shouldn't require scaling your company's legal exposure. Securing your compliance foundation early is the only way to ensure the entire structure doesn't eventually collapse.